For 3 years, economists and share market analysts have told us our home values were about to collapse. It started in 2008 with the onset of the global financial crisis. The pundits predicted 2009 would be a year of serious price decline. Some said 10%, some suggested 20%, and one out of his depth commentator predicted 40%. None of that happened, of course. In most locations around Australia, prices rose in 2009. Undeterred, the same noisy analysts popped up again and issued similar warnings for 2010. Surprisingly, given the poor track record of these flawed forecasters, media continued to give them credibility. But property didn't collapse in 2010 either. Capital cities showed moderate increases, and the best of the regional areas delivered double-digit value growth. Oh well, 2011 presented another opportunity. The chattering economists evidently believe that if you keep predicting something long enough, eventually you may get it right, and then you can claim to be vindicated. In recent months, there has been a crescendo of voices making dire predictions about real estate. It's made many Australians afraid to go near the property market. Electronic media has been having a feeding frenzy, shoving cameras in the faces of anyone silly enough to predict a US-style housing collapse here, ignoring the reality that their home prices dropped for very clear reasons, none of which apply to Australia. So in the light of all this, what happened? Yes, that's right, the share market collapsed. Real estate has continued to hold up, with minor price decline in some locations, but the Australian stock market has tanked, following the US and other global markets in a spiral of decline. What's significant here is that none of those strident economists who have warned us of impending real estate doom prepared us for the nosedive in Australian shares. They've been so obsessed with real estate, they didn't see the collapse in share values coming. Nor did they forecast the downgrading of the US credit rating, which was a major catalyst for the share market collapse. Nor did media, which has been so persistent in its warnings of real estate disaster. So why have we had this fixation with warnings about real estate, but no focus on the share market? Perhaps commentators forgot that most Australians have their superannuation savings wrapped up in the share market. The basis of the claims of collapsing house prices is that real estate is allegedly overvalued in Australia. But clearly it was shares that were overvalued, and I don't recall being warned about that. So let's look at what happened in the week ending Saturday, 6th August. The share market carnage was apparently prompted by concerns that the US could be headed back into recession, and fears that Europe's debt issues could spread to Italy and Spain. On Friday the 5th of August, the Australian share market dropped 4%, in its biggest one-day loss since the height of the GFC almost 3 years earlier. The fall wiped $60 billion from the value of Australian stocks on Friday the 5th of August. And that meant a cumulative loss of around $100 billion over the week. Local traders followed the lead of the US, something our property markets have avoided. Australian stocks closed on Friday the 5th of August at their lowest level since July 2009. And it was the biggest one-day percentage fall since the 20th of November 2008. Now let's look at what residential real estate has been doing while shares have been choking. The most official of the data on prices, which is the house price indexes from the Australian Bureau of Statistics, shows the weighted average across the 8 capital cities was a fall of just 0.1% in the June quarter. This effectively means no change. And that's amazing really, given the low level of consumer confidence, the daily speculation about interest rates rising, inaccurate as it turns out given that the last rate rise was in November last year, and those persistent warnings of a real estate Black Friday. The year-on-year result for capital city house prices was a decrease of just 1.9%. Even Brisbane, with the impact of the January flood weighing down its property market, has fallen just 3.6% in 12 months. The Australian share market fell more than that in a single day.